Hey Kaiju fans, I'm Golden, and I'm presenting a revamped look at the cyborg monster that hijacked the return of King Ghidorah, Gigan.
Gigan! Rise!
One of the only recurring villains of the Showa series, Gigan has remained a fan favorite since his introduction in 1972 thanks to his unusual design and his brutal, sadistic, and occasionally goofy personality. The first monster to make Godzilla bleed, he perennially acts under villainous orders, from the M-Space Hunter Nebula aliens in Godzilla vs. Gigan and Godzilla vs. Megalon, the Garogas in Zone Fighter, and the Exilians in Godzilla Final Wars. Although his origins are murky in most of his outings, reference material occasionally describes him as a cyborg space dinosaur. The Kaiju's popularity has led to a huge number of appearances in non-film media, some of which actually depicts him in a more heroic light. Special effects director Teruyoshi Nakano wanted Gigan to be a richly colored dinosaur, and drew inspiration from the designs of the multi-layered Junihitoe kimonos worn by Japanese court ladies. Weekly Shonen magazine illustrator Takayoshi Mizuki designed the monster, basing his form on migratory birds such as geese, and adopting the sharpness of an eagle from his neck up. The beast's scythe-like appendages may have been inspired by Alien Baltan from the Ultra series, as Mizuki frequently drew Ultraman artwork for magazines. The monster's signature visor eye was inspired by a pair of sunglasses worn by actor Yujiro Ishihara in 1959's The Echo of Love, which Mizuki had seen as a student. Gigan's name is a portmanteau of a nickname for Ishihara, Nice Guy, and the Japanese word for goose, Gan. Guy Goose, Guy Gan, Gigan. Kaoru Mabuchi titled his treatment for the 12th entry in the Godzilla series, Godzilla vs. the Space Monsters, Earth Defense Directive. Gigan, accompanied by fellow space monsters Megalon and King Ghidorah, would have been under the control of an evil alien brain called Miko, causing disasters as part of a scheme to seize control of the planet. Godzilla, Anguirus, and the ancient Incan idol Majin Tool opposed them. This treatment would also be followed by two more by Shinichi Sekizawa, The Return of King Ghidorah, and Godzilla vs. Gigan, The Return of King Ghidorah, which shuffled the monster cast and laid the groundwork for the final film. As a side note, the movie was produced under the title Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Earth Defense Directive, as seen in cast and crew photos taken at the end of filming. Its title was not changed to Godzilla vs. Gigan until post-production. Gigan's suit was modeled by Nobuyuki Yasumaru, who took over as Toho's chief modeler in 1971. The suit's eye was made of acrylic resin, while the beak, horns, and sides were made using fiber-reinforced plastic, or FRP. Initially, the FRP components were cast solid, and needed to be hollowed out after suit actor Kenpachiro Satsuma complained he had difficulty moving. The suit's neck would also be shortened and the fins sharpened, but only after the port attack scene was filmed. While Gigan was envisioned possessing yellow feathers, these were replaced with golden scales cast from a mold of King Ghidorah's scales during the modeling process. Gigan's buzzsaw could be replaced with a rigged piece, consisting of a wooden strip with blade pieces attached. This could be fed through a remote-controlled motor mechanism, which moved it up and down along a cam, mimicking the appearance of a rotary saw at high speed. A 3-shaku, or 90cm long, scale model of the monster in flight was created out of styrene, while a smaller 1-shaku model was used for long shots, equipped with a mechanism to spray freon gas from either side of its wings. A giant model of Gigan's claw was also used to depict him swatting at fighter jets. A new barrel-chested Gigan suit appeared in 1973's Godzilla vs. Megalon and Zone Fighter. While Satsuma recalled that the 72 suit was simply modified between movies, the second suit can be spotted under construction next to the first one in some production photos. Shinichi Sekizawa and Jun Fukuda then wrote him into an early version of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, but he was ultimately dropped. Hiroyasu Yamaura's rejected story, SOS Tokyo, Godzilla's Suicide Strategy, also called for him to team up with an alien robot named Kamelegon. A Gigan suit was made for attraction purposes sometime during the early Heisei period. Heisei G-series suit actor Hurricane Ryu Hurricane borrowed the suit and shot photos of it in 1993. This suit, or a similar one, appeared in an Ultraman stage show at Hero Festival 96. Gigan was given a radical redesign by Yasushi Nirasawa for Godzilla Final Wars in 2004. Nirasawa intentionally shied away from the original design, giving him dark blue metallic skin and adding concealed weapons to his body. Nirasawa also prepared concept art for Gigan's modified form, an idea of director Ryuhei Kitamura's. The monster was portrayed by Kazuhiro Yoshida, who doubled as the actor for Hedorah in the movie. Modeling company Star Train produced at least 3 new suits and a flying prop, supervised by Godzilla veteran Shinichi Wakasa. All the suits were modular and could be split apart into individual pieces, allowing for an easy transformation into modified Gigan. Motors installed in the arm pieces drove as chainsaw blades, while lights in the visor allowed it to glow. A separate neck stump piece was created for his decapitations. In addition to all the practical effects, several shots of modified Gigan were computer-generated. One of the suits later turned up alongside Anguirus and King Ghidorah in original footage shot by Koichi Kawakita for the 2006 pachinko game CR Godzilla 3ST Battle. Operating from their base within the Godzilla Tower at the World Children's Land construction site, the M-Space Hunter Nebula aliens used their action tapes to bring Gigan and King Ghidorah to Earth. After circling the tower, both space monsters descended on Tokyo and laid waste to the city before Godzilla and Anguirus confronted them. The monsters were evenly matched until Gigan and Ghidorah forced Godzilla within range of the Godzilla Tower, which devastated him with its laser beam. Anguirus tried to rescue his friend, only for Gigan to slice his face open with his buzzsaw. Gigan grabbed and weakened Godzilla and proceeded to stab him repeatedly in the head until blood began to gush from the wound. Just as it appeared the space monsters would be victorious, a band of hippies managed to destroy the Godzilla Tower from within, incinerating the aliens and their action tapes. The evil alien kaiju continued their offensive, but could no longer coordinate effectively. Godzilla and Anguirus exploited this opportunity and regrouped, successfully turning the tide against their foes. Both space monsters beat a hasty retreat back from whence they came. After the Seatopians lost control of Jet Jaguar and learned he had traveled to Monster Island to recruit Godzilla's help against their monster god Megalon, they contacted the M-Space Hunter Nebula aliens and asked for Gigan's assistance. The Nebulans obliged and sent Gigan to Earth once again, where he immediately broke a stalemate between Jet Jaguar and Megalon. Just as their victory seemed certain, Godzilla finally arrived to back up the robot, but soon found himself and Jet Jaguar trapped within a ring of fire created by Megalon's napalm bombs. As Gigan and Megalon mocked the heroes, Jet Jaguar took flight and lifted Godzilla out of the trap, to the two enemy monsters' great dismay. The battle raged on, with Godzilla and Jet Jaguar's combined might proving too much for Gigan, who quickly retreated and left his ally at their mercy. Gigan found himself under the control of the Goroga aliens, who outfitted his claws with explosive charges. Following a Goroga scheme to trap Zone Fighter inside a junked car, Godzilla appeared to drive off the aliens, but was met with a Terror Beast missile containing Gigan. With an assist from Zone Great's Bolt Thunder, Godzilla saved Fighter and left Gigan for dead. Undaunted, the space monster miraculously revived himself. Free from his automotive imprisonment, Zone Fighter grew to giant size to engage the persistent cyborg in a final duel. Gigan detonated one of the charges on his upgraded claws against the hero's head, but Fighter was not phased for long. He quickly rolled away and destroyed Gigan's remaining explosive with his proton beam. After a flurry of blows, Fighter unleashed his Meteor Missile Might attack. Gigan's visor dimmed and his mouth flooded with foam, before he exploded. In the year 20XX, the Earth Defense Force discovered Gigan's mummified body in the waters off Hokkaido. The monster shared much of its genome with the mutant humans who made up the EDF's Elite M organization. As explained by the Shobi gene, Gigan hailed from outer space and attacked Earth in the ancient past, only to be defeated by Mothra. Before long, the newly self-appointed controller of Planet X reactivated Gigan, and unleashed him along with the rest of the Exilian's Monster Legion to bring humanity to its knees. With most of the EDF's forces destroyed, a ragtag group of survivors used the Gotengo to free Godzilla from his frozen imprisonment in Antarctica. Gigan's chest saw grounded the Gotengo, but he couldn't stop its missiles from reaching their target. He confronted the newly awakened Godzilla, restraining him with his grappling hooks and dragging him towards his buzzsaw. The Big G retaliated with his iconic atomic breath, obliterating the cyborg's head. The Exilian soon recovered and resurrected him as the more powerful modified Gigan, then sent him to intercept Mothra before she could aid Goji against their ultimate weapon, Monster X. Gigan quickly defeated Mothra before joining Monster X and battling Godzilla. Though they both seemed to have the advantage, the Monster King dodged one of Gigan's chainsaw swipes, which accidentally hit Monster X. Mothra rejoined the battle and toppled both villains before re-engaging Gigan. He launched 2 bladed slicers at her, which she nimbly evaded. He then fired his Gigarium cluster, which ignited Mothra's scales and the goddess herself. Gigan turned and posed victoriously, only for the bladed slicers to boomerang back and cut off his head. The headless beast staggered forward until the blazing Mothra flew into him and exploded, seemingly ending them both. The Showa Gigan possessed a laser-firing aperture on his forehead, which he frequently employed in publicity stills but never on film. This was Teruyoshi Nakano's idea. Many statues of Buddha have an aura around their head, like angels in Western paintings. I read an article about a strange ray shooting from a man's forehead, like ESP or a sixth sense, but he later decided against it, stating that it doesn't fit a monster, it fits a human, or a superhuman. Nonetheless, the laser became a staple of Gigan's arsenal in other media, inconsistently fired from the visor or the forehead aperture. He finally used it on screen in Godzilla Final Wars. Called the Scattered Light Beam Gigarium Cluster, it took the form of a red energy blast that scattered into smaller bolts of energy upon reaching close proximity to a target. The Gigarium cluster visibly hurt Godzilla and made Mothra burst into flames. The alien released a short-ranged energy burst in the same vein called the Shotgun Burst in the Atari Pipeworks games. Gigan can fire a flamethrower from his mouth, as showcased in 3 early mid-90s video games, Battle Legends, the Godzilla arcade game, and Kaiju Daikasen. Godzilla Movie Studio Tour states that this was yet another ranged attack the Showa Gigan possessed but never used on screen. In both series, Gigan could achieve flight at speeds of Mach 3. By encasing himself in a diamond-like structure, the Showa Gigan could fly through space at Mach 400. In the Atari Pipeworks Godzilla games, Gigan is only able to fly for short distances and instead favors teleportation, which positions him behind enemy monsters. Gigan's most commonly used weapons were a pair of hooked appendages called hammer hands or hammer claws. He used these frequently to batter and stab opponents or slice through jets and buildings with these. In Zone Fighter, they were tipped with single-use explosive charges. In Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee and Save the Earth, his rage attack, Whirlwind Assault, allows him to energize them, and significantly ups their range. For Gigan's redesign in Godzilla Final Wars, the hammer hands became more like blades, dubbed the Bloody Triggers. The undersides of these appendages housed dual grappling hooks, and they were called hooking anchors. He used these to bind Godzilla and drag him towards his buzzsaw. While converting him into modified Gigan, the Exilians replaced his bloody triggers with double-pronged bloody chainsaws. They proved effective against both friend and foe, and he even used them as treads to charge Mothra in the face of her gale force winds. Gigan's tail is tipped with a metal spike. While he never used it in combat in the Showa series, in Final Wars it gained a few extra spikes and stabbed Mothra like a scorpion. In Zone Fighter, he bit down on Godzilla's tail in a last-ditch attack, managing to hang on even after the Monster King repeatedly slammed him to the ground. Gigan had a circular buzzsaw-like rotating cutter mounted in his chest, which can slice through buildings and pierce the skin of other kaiju. In Godzilla Final Wars, the buzzsaw is called the Bladed Cutter. Gigan used it to disable the Gotengo's main engine, and later attempted to pull Godzilla into it with his hooking anchors. In Final Wars, modified Gigan could launch rotating razor-sharp discs called Bladed Slicers from 2 slots on his chest. This attack proved to be Gigan's undoing, as after missing Mothra, the slicers boomeranged back and severed his head. Presumably, her scales caused them to malfunction. In Zone Fighter, Gigan sprang to his feet using the ninja revival technique after Goji defeated him. There are conflicting accounts of what exactly happened here. One book describes him as immortal and says he was simply playing dead. Another clarifies, Gigan is immortal as long as both of his claws are unscathed. However, the Garogas accomplished that, they didn't think it through, as the monster himself absent-mindedly damaged one of his claws by hitting Zone Fighter with an explosive charge. The hero swiftly targeted the other with a Meteor Proton Beam and then killed him with Meteor Missile Might. Either way, this technique was included in the Super Famicom fighting game Kaiju Daikasen. The Showa Gigan fled from Maser Beams, and Godzilla's atomic breath reliably knocked him out of the sky. The Final Wars Gigan survived 1 blast of Godzilla's atomic breath, but the follow-up took his head off. The second demise happened under unusual circumstances, to say the least. Gigan has made a whopping 26 appearances in Godzilla video games as of 2020, as well as several mobile game crossovers. He debuted as a boss in Godzilla Monster of Monsters, where his extended chest saw made him a formidable challenge. Gigan was also a playable monster in the Atari Pipeworks trilogy. In the first 2 games and the PlayStation 2 version of Unleashed, he possessed his Showa design, while the Wii version used his Millennium design. Half a decade ago, modified Gigan made his gaming debut in Bandai Namco's Godzilla, becoming a playable character in the enhanced PS4 version. Gigan was featured in the 1997 television series Godzilla Island, in which he was uncharacteristically portrayed as a heroic monster. Initially a pawn of the Exilians, Gigan had a change of heart after being defeated by Godzilla, and returned in a later story arc to help him defeat Destoroyah and Megalon. In his final appearance, he landed the killing blow against the shape-shifting monster Dororine. The alien has also made frequent appearances in the ongoing puppet series Godziban. In his initial appearances, he terrorized the cast, only to fall into a hole dug by Baragon, which Anguirus quickly paved over. Since then, Little has doggedly tried to become his friend. Gigan has had more forms than the three rendered through the medium of film. The 90s collectible card series, Toy Card, invented Gigan Mark II and Full Metal Gigan, while TV Magazine showcased a Bandai figure of the heavily armored Armed Gigan, featuring a gun in place of a scythe, around the release of Final Wars. Godzilla Rulers of Earth marked the first time Gigan cycles through his movie looks on screen, or on page. Though his bio from the instruction manual of the Wii version of Godzilla Unleashed does state he was upgraded using the latest Vortok technology, referencing the previous two games using the Showa look. The anime prequel novel, Godzilla Project Mechagodzilla, did the whole rebuild Gigan as he got wrecked thing too, with him starting out as a fully organic beast from the Siberian seabed. In an interview, author Renji Oki explained an idea which anime trilogy writer Gen Urobuchi had for Gigan that could never be used. A worker's monster, modified by former Soviet scientists, with one of his hands a hammer and the other a sickle. Naturally debuting in the manga adaptations of his film, Gigan also featured in a Zone Fighter manga, as well as CinemaShare's tie-in comic for Godzilla vs. Megalon, which inexplicably called him Borodan, as well as Kodansha's Godzilla King of the Monsters manga. He became a frequent presence in IDW's Godzilla comics. After a cameo in Godzilla Legends Issue 1, he attacked the Earth alongside Space Godzilla, Monster X, and Hedorah in Godzilla Ongoing. When the Earth's monsters launched a counteroffensive, Rodan and Anguirus defeated him in Hong Kong by shattering his visor. In the follow-up series, Rulers of Earth, the damaged Gigan had a brief confrontation with Kumonga before the Cryog aliens recovered and upgraded him. Upon liberating the Millennium UFO from Area 51, he battled Godzilla, Mulgera, Jet Jaguar, and an out-of-control Orca in Las Vegas, with Godzilla and Jet Jaguar forcing his retreat. The Cryogs next used him to defend their fleet against his former ally, Space Godzilla, but he was badly damaged and beaten. The Cryog commander Ryzon rescued and modified Gigan once more, then unleashed him against the Cryog Emperor Kakaro. After destroying his fleet, Gigan made a beeline for Jet Jaguar, and lost again. Still, he escaped the melee in Los Angeles with his life, and the final page of the series showed him under repair in a secret base alongside a lone Mechagodzilla. Gigan's other appearances in the IDW comics include Godzilla, the Half-Century War, where he and King Ghidorah battled Godzilla and Kiryu in Antarctica after ravaging half the world, and Rage Across Time, where the Nebulans directed him and Megalon to attack feudal Japan, only to be driven off by the Big G. Half-Century War writer and artist James Sakoe joked that he only took the job so he could have Gigan use an aircraft carrier as a surfboard. Gigan appeared in 3 of Random House's Godzilla picture books, where he attacked Los Angeles with Hedorah, and twice caused an absolute ruckus on Monster Island. In Godzilla at World's End, Gigan targeted communication satellites until Russia launched a nuke at him. Unfazed, he smashed Leninsk and Peleograd in retaliation, before Anguirus dragged him into the Caspian Sea. Gigan appears in Project Mechagodzilla, the second official prequel novel of the Godzilla anime film trilogy. Here, he was again portrayed as a benevolent kaiju. Discovered hibernating in the waters off Siberia, he was controlled using EXIF and Bilu-Saludo technology, and used to lure Godzilla deeper into Eurasia during Operation Long March. As he was maimed in each battle, Gigan had his body parts replaced by mechanical ones until he became more machine than monster. The Bilu-Saludo recovered and redeployed Gigan one last time, injecting him with experimental nanometal, which allowed him to instantly regenerate from serious damage. It was no use. Godzilla completely obliterated Gigan with a particularly powerful blast of atomic breath, after which a medical officer named Michael N. Hunter vowed to return one of his scales to Siberia to honor his sacrifice on behalf of mankind. That's all we have for Gigan. Thanks for watching.
Hey Golden, while you're still here, mind telling us when Ultraman Cosmos Without Context is coming out? Golden?
Do the thing. That's all we have for Gigan. I'm Golden, and thanks for watching.